Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to Cluster API Release Team, the weekly meeting we try to have. This is the first one where the agenda for the v1.12 release begins. And so I'm here kind of to hand things off and to answer questions and to try and get everybody oriented. Um, and then the boilerplate we say at the beginning of the meeting is we're doing work on behalf of Cluster API, which is a sub-project of SIG Cluster Lifecycle. And so we abide by the Kubernetes Community General Rules of Conduct, which I'm sure you're probably all familiar with, but basically we can summarize them as let's try to make this a welcoming, friendly place for everybody to participate in. Uh, Specifically, try to use the raise hand feature in Zoom if you can so that we don't talk over each other. It's not usually a big problem, but just so things go better. Um, if you want to add your name here to the attendees list, please do so. It's not necessarily required, just helps people remember who is who. And despite what I said before, there's not too many of us here, so please feel free to just interrupt me if you have any questions. Um, Otherwise, first thing on the agenda is welcome. Thanks for showing up. There's just five of us in the meeting, but there's like 12 or 13 people I've talked to recently who have volunteered. So that should do it. That should be enough people. Um, if we want to, maybe we want to go around really quick and everybody could just introduce themselves and say like what they do with Kubernetes and why they were interested in volunteering. That's okay. Uh, Pratik, I'll pick on you first if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, Matt. Let me give my introduction. I'm Pratik, currently a developer at Kepler. So I was the volunteer at Cluster API 1.10 release also, and yeah, same. I also volunteer for this cycle. Yeah, I talked to Matt about there is space or not. So he said there is always a space for everyone to come and join. So yeah, here I am. Here I am.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, Arshada, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hey, I'm Arshada and I'm currently working with IBM. I think I've been contributing. Like I started open source contribution last year, and I like got to know what the for the CAPI. How I got to know is we too have a CAPI that is using upstream one basically. So CAPI IBM is there, so that there also I am heavily contributing. So basically I'm really interested in CAPI code. I'm trying to explore the things, and I try to pick up the feature. Not in that a feature. I try to pick up the bugs and all. But yeah, I really want to be a part of the community. So that's why I volunteer for this. So
That's awesome. Yeah. CI is a great way to get dragged into the code. Chandan, you want to go next?
Hey, I'm from last two or three release. I'm here for as a comms lead, and I am continuing with the next release as well. Yeah, so basically, anyone who wanted to join the comms team, they are free to talk to Matt or me or anyone. Um, and yeah, there is very much less task mostly about the docs related to like release notes generation and all those things. So yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah, I'm living in Bangalore from last 5 to 6 years, and I'm working in Intuit.
Yep. Chandan knows the drill and has already done the release notes for a patch release this morning before the meeting, which is usually why we're here for the meeting is to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row and we do the release. But there's not a lot to it once you've done it a few times, so we're ahead of the game. Um, and then Sarah, hey, am I getting your name right? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm representing myself. I'm still a contributor, just like I love OSS and fixing stuff, and that's all. I've been around involved in Kubernetes longer than 5 years already, I think. So
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for helping out. Thanks, everybody. And thanks everybody who is not here and hopefully is watching this video. So the first thing usually we have kind of the same agenda each time. It's more like this. It's like check in on our milestones, get a status update from the CI team lead to make sure that things are green and we're able to release, get a status update from the comms team in case there's anything we should know about relating to the release. Then we check in on the big tasks. So there's an issue where we keep track of all the tasks. We'll have to create another one. In fact, I guess this will be one of your first jobs, is to create a new issue that kind of fleshes out all the tasks, something like this. And then as we go through the semester, we check these off one by one. It's kind of, and then the last thing we usually do is check in on the improvement board, which is a GitHub project where we're just tracking, like, these are the things we could do to actually make this process, the release itself, smoother. And we made some progress this time. These purple ones actually got closed. So probably another task we need to do, and this might require us having a maintainer do it, because I don't think I'm able to update this view, is, move these existing ones to a new task board, or maybe just rename this as v1.12 tasks, and it might work. So anyway, that's usually what we do at this meeting, or what we have been doing, is just check in there and try and keep it pretty quick, because on days when we don't have a release to do, there's not a lot to do, so we try not to take a lot of time. But today, since we're getting started out, it seems more appropriate to just use this as an orientation meeting, answer questions, make sure everybody understands role assignments and all that. So as far as the patch releases, I didn't check, but it sounds like we're going to do v1.10.6 as well, right, Chandan?
Yes, I'm creating a PR for that.
Okay. So maybe today is not the day to go through it, but if you haven't gone through a patch release yet, it's all detailed in the release team handbook. But at the high level, it starts out with someone creates a PR for the release notes, and then the maintainers review the release notes, and as long as everything looks good, they merge that, and that's what actually starts the machinery, creates a tag, creates a branch if needed, and then builds an image and pushes the image to a staging repository. And then our next job, or really the release lead's next job, is to wait until that finishes, wait until there's a Docker image or Docker images in the staging area, and then run a make command that creates a PR to promote those to release, and then let the maintainers know, hey, I did this. And by and large, that's really all that needs to be done. Sometimes things don't work. Sometimes there's little complications, but mostly that's what we have to do on Tuesdays. And there are a lot of other related tasks, as you'll see in the role handbooks. The release lead is responsible for kind of like hygiene overall. If there's a new Go release, ideally we update that for the maintainers. And so I'm sure you're aware, but the overall idea here is the maintainers are really busy, which is true in all Kubernetes projects. But to the extent that we can take all these chores off their hands, they can get a lot more done. So the most important thing we can do besides actually doing the releases is keep a close eye on CI and notice before anyone else does that, this thing is flaking a lot, or some test is just failing all the time. And then bring that to the maintainer's attention, create an issue for it, and then ideally pursue a fix, although that's not necessarily always the case. So, all right, I'll stop babbling. The next thing we should probably check out is sorting out role assignments. I have a PR somewhere. Okay, so I have a PR in progress here that, if we look at it in the more friendlier mode, some people spoke up and said they were interested in doing CI team. And then a couple other people based on what I think they worked on in the past, I just assigned. So right now, this is what I was thinking. Also, um, it would be a good idea to have a shadow for the release lead if someone wants to do that, but um, I haven't suggested this. I was hoping more people were going to show up here and someone would say, "Oh, I'd rather do this." But I think what I'll do is put out this PR in progress and post this to the release channel, and that'll give people an opportunity to say, "Hey, no, I really don't want to do CI," or "I'd be psyched to be the, release shadow," or something like that. So this is what I currently have. I think the lead positions, it sounds like, are solid. Um, and then I guess we'll just wait a couple more days and make sure that everybody in the right column is more or less happy with that assignment, if that makes sense. So,
Yep.
And then, I'm here, I have a fair amount of time and I'm here to help with everything. But I guess the idea is then, Chandan, you'd start talking with those three and see where they can help out with different tasks. Or Shada, you'd um, coordinate with these people mostly through the Slack team and make sure they're all plugged into the CI thing. What we did in the v1.11 cycle, and you don't necessarily need to do this, it's not in the release docs, but we assigned everybody to a day. So like I was Tuesday and someone else was Wednesday. And so then, and we had 5 people, so it more or less worked out. And then the idea is you go look at test grid, you look at how the state of all the tests, and then kind of sum it up and post in the release channel. Hey, it's Tuesday. The CI state is overall green. And then maybe in the thread you'd say, but there's this flake that we know about, and here's one new flake, and I put an issue in for it. And so if we could get to where someone on the CI team were doing that every day, that would be excellent. So so I would suggest if we can once we get this thing solidified, it's not that urgent this week. Um, if we could try and get someone assigned to each of those roles, someone assigned to a day, maybe 2 people on a day. We don't necessarily have to cover weekends. Um, then I think that'd be really solid. But again, I'll let this sit for a little bit because I put some people in the column and maybe that's not actually what they want to do, but we'll find out. Okay. So that's role assignments. Let me just make a little note. We'll put the out in the release channel for feedback. And then I'm sure you all know this already, but this is just for everybody's information in general. The 2 most important documents that we have are this markdown document that describes the schedule, and this is merged. So this is basically what we've signed up to do through December. And if you look at it closely, there's actually not a lot specific to do after today for about a month, meaning we don't have another release. So there should be plenty of time to get comfortable with like looking at CI, figuring out how that works. People will take a week or 2 naturally just to get oriented and all that. But in terms of specific tasks, in terms of releases and all that, we really have about a month before we do this, before we have to do another one. So that's good. And this isn't quite as complicated a release schedule as the last one. v1.11, you might know, introduced an entirely new v1 beta 2 API, which is a big deal in the Kubernetes world when you change the API. So we had alpha releases and stuff like that that we probably won't even do this time around. No, we're not planning on. So this time around, we're going back to what Cappy has usually done, which is just at some point we drew the first beta release. So it's a little simpler. And then the role handbooks, I know you've already looked at, but just for the recording, they are over here. They're broken down into 3 groups, and pick your adventure. And they're pretty detailed. If you ever are reading through these and you have a question at all, please ask and or open a PR, because the idea is these should be documented well enough that someone who's diligent can just read it and figure out everything to do. That's Of course, not actually going to be the case, but it's the goal. Yeah. Any questions about any of this so far? I'll take that as a no. And then I just take this meeting time because it was already existing and it worked for enough people. But if this is really painful, you guys obviously could show up, so that's great. But I just want to put out there potentially we could change the meeting time if it would work better for a majority of people. But I'm not sure we know based on who showed up this time. So I'll just leave that there. Yeah, that's all I had. What do you guys have? What questions do you have?
I'm good. I don't have any question.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, go ahead.
for the CA side, I had so we'll wait for the list to be like in the channel that will be shared, right? And then we'll just go ahead and start assigning the things.
I think so, yeah. Hopefully we can do it that kind of organically just through the release channel. But if it's up in the air until next week and we have to try and sort it out at a meeting, that's fine too. But yeah, I think that's the goal.
Okay.
Is that we get to some kind of regular, we're checking the CI and we're reporting feedback thing by hopefully like next week or something. Because I don't want to put it all on you if other volunteers don't have their act together yet. Ideally, you're just coordinating people, but in practice, I'm sure you end up doing a lot of the work.
Mhm.
All that.
Okay.
So yeah. And if you need help, talking to volunteers or getting any of this going, I'll be in the channel and I'll be willing to help with that, of course. And I'll come to next week's meeting and probably the one after that and whatever is necessary just to make sure we know what's going on.
Okay.
And then what else can I think of? Oh, okay. Well, the one maybe practical thing, particularly for you, Pratik, is the docs all say, get a maintainer, or the docs kind of say before you do a release, make sure you have a maintainer assigned. In practice, what's been going on is we just notify Stefan and Fabrizio, two of the maintainers who are more or less always available on these Tuesdays. It's a morning for me, it's an evening for them. And so just make sure you notify them when you're doing release stuff, like, hey, the release notes are ready, or hey, this, just notify them in the channel. But we'll see how that goes in a few weeks. I'll be there to help.
Sure.
Yeah, by the way, I will be also there. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and Shana knows how
Yeah.
everything works. All right, cool. Well, unless there's any questions, I won't take up any more of your time.
Not from my side.
All right. Well, thanks again for helping out. It really is super helpful to the whole project. And we'll talk to you online.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. See you soon.
See ya. Bye. Thank you, man.